I've got a bit of a conspiracy theory about conspiracy theories.
Probably leaked from
They always
from
knew
the Chinese
that.
laboratory. Yes.
I call myself a gender denier because there is no such thing as gender. It's not an independent country. It's having a break before it rejoins the United Kingdom. It's having a break.
He's reinstated the bust of Churchill.
Yep.
Which is, sounds like a little thing, but for me that's important.
It's a nice signal to the UK.
Yeah.
It's a nice signal to the UK.
Yeah. Deportation flights have begun already.
Yeah.
He's formed an alliance with Javier Milei, Giorgia Meloni and Viktor Orban.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk through some of the executive orders and ask your opinions on them in a minute. But are you aware of what happened with the Colombian So the deportations of the Colombian, maybe you would tell our gentle listeners what happened.
So I believe 2 flights took off.
Yes. So I think these are Colombian criminals, I think. That were, or maybe just illegal immigrants.
No, they're
right.
At the beginning now, they're all criminals.
Yeah.
They're all convicted criminals in America.
Yeah.
So that's why they know who they are, because they've all been convicted in America.
So they're in prison in America at the moment, probably.
Some of them will be, some of them are free walking about.
Right, okay.
That's why ICE are raiding them.
Yeah.
But the plane had taken off, it was getting towards Colombia, and Colombia denied entry for the airplane. So it had to go somewhere else to land. Trump, I believe, was playing golf and got told the Colombians have refused entry. And he went, give me that phone. Phoned up the Colombian president and said, right, from tomorrow, there's a 25% increase tariff on all goods coming from Colombia. I think it's 50% on your coffee. Basically going to say, I'm going to bankrupt you. Within an hour, I believe, the president phoned back going, we'll accept the plane. In fact, I'm sending my plane to go and pick some up as well. Great win straight away for Trump. The president of Colombia, which is a socialist government, looks really weak. And then the president of Colombia then attacked Trump. Did you see that? Called him a fascist, a this, a that. I sent my plane because my citizens deserve to come home in style. Blah, blah, blah. There's prostitutes now in Colombia refusing to sleep with American men. So we've got, girl power there in Colombia.
That's a positive, isn't it?
Yeah, there'll be less diseases being brought back to America. Less syphilis and gonorrhea. Fantastic. Straight away on the phone and destroyed the president of another country and said, we're not having this, and this is what I'm going to do. And the president believed it straight away and changed his policies.
And somebody sent me a summary of this, and it said, Trump on a golf course, hole 3. Yeah. Colombia refuses permission. Hole 8, Colombia is sending flights. and I think I think he carried on playing golf. Yeah. I don't think he kind of thought, I better deal with this. He's like made a phone call, carried on playing golf. Hole 8, he gets another phone call. They're now picking him up.
I'm sure he expected it. I'm sure this has been discussed. Mr. President, what happens if this country refuses the flight which was sent off? What happens then? I think he game played it all. I think he knew what he was going to do to the countries, and I think he picked the countries he wanted to hammer first. I think he's got no love for Colombia.
So he was prepared for that to happen.
I think he was. I think he wanted to embarrass that president who he's not friendly with, because it sends a message to everybody else. Yeah. Who's going to refuse flights now, knowing it's going to be huge tariffs? Yeah. And accept the tariffs, but if you back down, you're going to look like if. So a lot of people now will be going, just take the flights. Yeah. But it makes us think, what do we do with Pakistan, who refuses to accept prisoners from here?
We'll stop sending them 133 million quid a year for a start.
That's what we do. We turn down to Pakistan and we say, no more aid, no more visas. Yeah. We're accepting nobody from Pakistan, not even tourist visas anymore now. Yeah. That's the end of it.
But you can also...
and in fact, what we can do as well is we're going to put a special tax on Pakistanis sending money home from the UK. We're going to tax that 50%.
Yeah. Well, this is the point, isn't it? There are mechanisms you can immediately deploy. Yeah. So any Pakistanis on benefits will stop getting in the UK. Will stop getting their benefits until you start to. So there's so many levers we have to pull.
You just need some balls.
Just need to pull. And this is happening now, isn't it? People are seeing this and realising it's now possible because Trump is doing it.
Yeah.
I'll get onto the executive orders in a minute, but just other things have happened as well. He's declassified the JFK, MLK, which again is really fascinating as an idea that he's doing that, you know, because it's something people have talked about for decades and nobody's, you know, everybody's a mystery, but he's decided to declassify those.
I've got a bit of a conspiracy theory about conspiracy theories.
Okay.
I first saw it on South Park.
Yes. Yeah. So it's well sourced.
It's well sourced.
You're like a Guardian journalist.
Yeah. So Eric Cartman from South Park. This episode, a South Park episode, is all about 9/11, and it turns out in the cartoon that 9/11 conspiracy theories are all cited by the government. Because the government wants the people thinking and talking about conspiracies and the deep state and people pulling strings. They would rather the people were looking and talking about that, because it stops them talking about the government and it stops the government being blamed for incompetence. So let's pretend there's shadowy figures. And part of that could be true. And I think the JFK assassination, why it's not been released up to now, is because it's handy for presidents and governments to have the people believe the shadowy figures, and it's not always my fault as your president.
So you think you're going to find out there isn't a conspiracy around JFK?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea. But I think there's a benefit to other presidents never doing this.
Yeah. My mole in America has alleged that the hit was ordered by LBJ, Lyndon B. Johnson, basically. An alleged, I don't know, we'll wait and see. So he's also removed security from Dr. Fauci and John Bolton. Apparently they have government paid security. Yeah. And he said they made enough money, they can pay for their own security. And I was just thinking we should do that to Blair, because he'll have government security, won't he? He
will, but he's a former Prime Minister.
I don't care.
And if that's what we've always done, that's what we've always done. And I wouldn't want to take away his security if he'd expected it, because yes, I'd be unfair. But other government officials, I mean the way they waste money, and those are two rich men.
Yeah. The CIA has now said, and this is massively coincidental, isn't it? Because this just happens after Trump gets in.
Yeah.
The CIA is now saying COVID-19 probably leaked from a...
They always knew
from the Chinese
that.
laboratory, yes.
From fucking day one, they'd always suspected it came from there. I think they always knew 99% it came from there.
Yes.
They were just playing a political game. They didn't. Their political masters told them, that's not what we want. That's not what we want to hear. It was obvious. We've got a coronavirus affecting the world that came from a place in China that has a coronavirus laboratory
20 minutes away from where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and it's like, no, we know where it's came from.
Yeah, but it's now, the point I'm making is, it's now official, isn't it?
Because
it's the Americans have now said it's official, it's come from a lab, basically.
And that's because Trump will be putting his own people in the CIA, and the people at the top of the CIA would like to keep their jobs. So now there's a different boss now, so now we'll start doing what that new boss wants us to do. So they're just trying to save their jobs, their careers, their pensions. But what he should be doing is going through the CIA, and some of these people need sacking anyway, because the CIA, even with Trump, it should be impartial. It should take directions from the government, because that's its job, but it shouldn't be lying to the public, manipulating the public. I'm sure all that's in its charter. And if they've broken any parts of his charter, Trump needs to sack the top people in the CIA.
It looks like they're going to stop the Chagos Island thing. The pressure is massive now, apparently, on the UK government not to do that for all sorts of reasons. But that's now out there, it's in the papers, and I think the government are going to stop it, aren't they? Yeah.
Well, Mauritius don't want them anyway.
Yeah.
Because
really?
Mauritius don't want them. The people of the Chagos Islands don't want to go to Mauritius.
Yeah.
And it's like, who are we doing this for? We're doing it for China.
Yeah.
And we're doing it because the people at the top of the Labour Party's government think this will be one of the ways to apologise to empire.
Yeah.
We need to give away some of these.
Yeah,
these things
we talked again, didn't we, last week or the week before, about the fact that the people in charge believe we owe this to we owe all this to the rest of the world. We've had our time, and now our job is to give other people money and give things back, basically, which is the complete opposite of Trump. Ireland, Southern Ireland, I call it Southern Ireland. I know you're not supposed to get trouble every time I call it Southern Ireland. Ireland listeners.
No, Southern Ireland. Because Southern Ireland
You'll be in trouble a bit. I can guarantee some listener will be making a comment saying, how dare you?
They can, but I'm entitled to call it Southern Ireland because
you're entitled to offend.
A, I've lived there.
Yes, I didn't know that.
B, I can claim nationality there and get a passport if I wanted to.
Really?
That's where my father comes from.
Ah.
I lived there as a baby.
Yeah.
So I'm entitled to call it what I want. It's Southern Ireland. It's not an independent country. It's having a break before it rejoins the United Kingdom. It's having a break.
All our Irish viewers will be thrilled to hear that.
Yeah.
Thrilled to hear that. So apparently they're now crawling back on their knees to Trump after slagging him off because he is now, what I didn't realise, the actual GDP in Southern Ireland, as you call it, is very, very high because all the big tech companies have got their head offices there because the tax rate is like 10% or something. And so the actual revenue per employee, but it's the heart of the biggest woke and immigration mess in the whole of Europe, basically. And Trump is now looking at this and saying, not happy about this. These American companies should be paying full taxes, basically.
In America.
Yeah. So if that happens, they're all going to they're going to leave Southern Ireland because nobody wants to be there now because of the mess over there. And Ireland will be in real trouble. So Ireland has suddenly changed its tune now on Trump and saying how fantastic he is and how they want to embrace him and stuff like that, which I hadn't been aware of until I read an article about it.
Yeah, I knew that lots of big companies base themselves there and pay tax to the government in Southern Ireland, even though they do all their work across Europe and stuff like that. And it's because they charge the lowest corporation tax in Europe. But that was only going to last for so long.
Yeah.
Until other countries reduced theirs.
Yeah.
Or until something we can't foresee happens, and we didn't foresee Trump going, we're going to hammer you all now.
Yeah. And again, it shows how weak Biden and the Democrats were, doesn't it, really? Because you've got your biggest companies not paying their full taxes in America.
Yeah, basically. American companies that were started in America, that are symbols of America, because it's only pretending to be based in Southern Ireland so they can avoid paying American taxes. And those companies need hammering.
And it kind of even more explains why they were all hanging around at the inauguration, doesn't it? Because they're thinking, this is going to happen, I need to try and control it, basically.
Also explains why they all supported Biden and wanted Biden.
That's
because it's like, we don't want Trump putting America first because he wants us to pay our taxes in America. We're not doing that.
Which suddenly makes even more sense that maybe these guys are not woke. They're just businessmen trying to optimise their position. And I think before we get into the actual executive orders, what really interested me were approval ratings in Britain. So when Trump got in 2016, his approval rating with the British was at 15%.
Yeah.
It's now at 34% and rising.
Yeah. That makes sense. When he was first elected 8 years ago, people only knew him as a TV personality, and the negative media on him was relentless. And we had nothing else to base our opinion of him on. I had people who were very sensible thinking Trump actually said we need to drink bleach to kill the coronavirus, COVID. He didn't say that, but people were believing what they were being told. Roll on 8 years, and we've seen the mess of America, and we've seen his first 4 years in power and what he did. We don't believe the press anymore now. Plus, things have moved on as well. We all believe the press less than we did 8 years ago anyway. So it don't surprise me that his ratings have gone up. In fact, I would say there's a sizable proportion of the UK who would say, I'd like him for Prime Minister here.
Yeah, I think they will.
I'm sure they would.
I think a lot of people are saying he's done more in the first couple of days than Labour has done in their entire time, basically, that they've been. And it's true.
Yeah.
So the executive orders, he's imposed a federal, and I suppose my question to you on these is, could this be done here, and should this be done here? So in terms of defeating inflation, he's imposed a federal hiring freeze, which is basically, you compare that to our public sector, a foreign aid freeze, which is stopping sending money abroad, and created the Department of Government Efficiency. Should we do that here?
No, I think we need to go further than that. I would cancel foreign aid. I'd cancel it. That doesn't mean we don't give money to other countries in need.
So he's frozen it temporarily, hasn't he? Yeah. You say that, forget it, it's not going to happen at all.
I'd cancel it.
Yeah.
And if somewhere like Turkey has a massive earthquake and there's a natural disaster there, then I'd be quite happy sending people there to help, sending tents, giving money. But I wouldn't have this set budget that every year we have to give away.
Yeah.
It would no, that's just general budget. Of course we'll help countries in the world when there's been a natural disaster. Of course we will. But we're not sponsoring the lesbian Beijing opera company, which we've been doing. We're not going to sponsor the Ethiopian girl band that we were doing. But that's because you give this money to a government department and go, you've got to spend that in a year. So they just spend it.
Yeah.
Where it'll be we'll spend it. We'll give money away only when it's needed. So I'd scrap that. I wouldn't be looking at freezing government spending. I'd want it cut. I'd be saying to...
Well, I think he is going to do that with the Doge, isn't he? Yeah.
So maybe these are temporary measures until the Doge is up and running.
I think what he's done immediately, he said, I'm stopping any more people being hired in the public sector, and Doge is going to come in and probably cut it in half.
Yeah.
And I'm freezing foreign aid, but whether that's going to be permanent or not. But it's happened now.
Yeah, exactly.
Those things have happened.
Yeah, so I'm sure you're going to be looking at that, but I think you're right. This is a holding position because it's I'm going to have to do legislation for it. Things have to go through Congress. But at the moment, it's all frozen.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to look at cutting it all.
He's ended the Green New Deal, withdrawn from the Paris Accord, and ended the electric car mandate.
Yep. That's beginning to happen here, isn't it?
Is it?
Oh, it's beginning to happen here. The government now, there's been rebellion. Well, there's talk of rebellion now in the cabinet because, you've got Rachel Reeves going, we can't afford net zero.
Yeah.
The economy is stagnating. We need further. So everyone's arguing between themselves now.
Yeah.
Some of the targets are about to be pushed back because they know they can't live up to it. And the second we have blackouts, which from what I'm reading looks like it's going to happen this year. Looks like we could have blackouts this year. That will be the end of all of it. And I just hope it comes quicker rather than later.
You got it here, folks. Nick's praying for a blackout.
Yeah.
He has declared a national emergency to extract more oil to boost manufacturing.
Yeah.
Plans to make the US the world capital of AI and crypto. Crypto, I think, is more personally for him to make. Yeah, I get the impression. But interestingly, Starmer has recently changed his position on AI, hasn't he?
Crypto, I don't really understand anything about crypto, so let's forget that one. AI, from what I'm being told, is extremely important. So, if we don't do it as the West, China's already working on, more complex AI, so that is the future, so we should be doing that. He's doing everything we should be doing. We've got enough, we've said it before, we've got enough coal in our country for 1,000 years. We've got gas under under the north of England for hundreds of years. We've still got gas and oil in the North Sea. We should be taking all that. As the Uzbekistani Prime President said at the COP20, whatever it was, he said, the natural resources under the ground of this country was God's gift to us. And that's what it is in this country. We need to use God's gift to this country. Oil, gas, coal. And we should be an energy exporter. And this country should not have to buy energy on the world market. We should be producing it ourselves and selling it at the rate that helps our families, our households, our businesses, not at the international rate because people can't produce their own.
He's making deregulation and tax cuts across the board a top priority.
We need tax cuts. for individuals, and we need tax cuts for businesses. I'd like the end of all national insurance, because nobody understands in your wage packet why you pay national insurance.
Yeah, it doesn't have. It's not like it's not specifically dedicated to the national health.
It just goes in general pot.
Yeah.
Some people think it's for your pension. Some people think it's for the NHS, and it's for none of that.
It's not.
It's just an extra tax upon us. We need to scrap that, and we need to be looking at tax cuts across the board alongside mass deregulation, so businesses can boom.
Countries that don't invest in America will pay tariffs.
Yep. I'm not sure how that's going to work out, because I'm not an economist, and some economists are saying protectionism doesn't work. It leads to higher prices and less productivity and blah, blah, blah. Other people are saying this has never been tried in the modern time. It could work. I don't know. I'm interested to see if it works or not. And if it works, I'm quite happy copying anything that works.
The Mexican border, active duty US military and National Guard troops have been deployed.
Yes, it has.
So I think this is something you said. If you took power in Britain today, you would send the army to the channel, I think you said, or something. I can't remember what you said.
I'd want the head of border force and the Navy, and I'd be saying, no one comes in.
Yeah.
Turn those boats back, sink those boats. Anybody you pick up, either go back to France or they go to the Ascension Islands.
Yeah.
But your job is to make sure no one steps foot on this land.
Yeah.
Because we ensured no Spanish from the Armada stepped foot on this land. No, Napoleon didn't. The Nazi Germany's didn't. And you're telling me you can't stop a couple of dozen Africans and Middle Easterns? You stop it or your job's gone.
Yeah.
Sack you all.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to say. We need to do that in the channel. The job is so easy. We have a channel.
Yeah.
We have a moat.
Yes. I mean, it's a lot harder in America.
Of course it is.
Yeah. But I don't think there's been any resistance, by the way, from the military or the National Guard to do this. I think they've just gone.
I think, hence why he won the election. This isn't a controversial statement. They're ready for it.
Yeah.
They've seen, children being raped and murdered by illegal immigrants. They've seen the explosion in the drug trade and people dying. They've seen it all over the last 8 years, and they're going, I don't care what you do, I want you to stop it. If you put people in danger, they're willing to accept your government committing atrocities if it keeps them safe. Because at the end of the day, we're all individuals and we want to be protected. So let's say Trump goes even further than that. Let's say he starts mowing down people trying to get over the fence with machine guns. I would say majority of people in America would accept that. I hope he doesn't do it. I hope he don't get that bad. But we're only pink and fluffy and woke when there's no consequences. But in America now there's consequences. It's on the news every day. Tragedy, rapes and killings and everything.
Yeah,
and it's
horrific stuff.
Yeah, and all those citizens now have got to a stage where I don't care anymore now. Shoot them dead when they're trying to get in. I don't want any more criminals in my country because I've got a girl, I've got 2 boys.
Yeah.
I don't want them dead. I'd rather have them dead.
Yeah. And I sent you a video, didn't I, of a town in Mexico. What was it?
Nogales,
which is just south of the border.
It's a border town, yeah.
And clearly what's happened is because Trump stopped this, people can't get over now.
Yeah.
And it was a video at night, and all you could hear was, it was horrific.
Yeah.
Gunshots going off, basically.
Yeah.
Not just in one place, across the whole of the town, the whole of the city. It must just be chaos down there.
I was there. I was in Nogales for one night 30 years ago, maybe. I was backpacking through America and went into Mexico. It's a border town, so we crossed the border. We spent one night there, and it's a big place, but it was a scary place. This was 30 years ago.
Really?
No,
30 years ago?
30 years ago, it was a scary place. Just walking around and you're looking at these bandidos and everyone's got guns and it's a border town and it's full of drugs and criminals, and it was a bit scary then. And I remember I was with my girlfriend and another couple, and the car pulled up. Hello, gringos, you got a hotel? Yeah, I've got a hotel. Oh, I'll give you a lift back to the hotel. And the other couple went, yeah. And I went, we are not getting in this guy's pickup truck. It's only a 5-minute walk. And they went, oh, let's not get in it. I went, we are not getting in that truck.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was a dangerous place then. So, but yeah, I saw the video, gunfights everywhere. Don't forget, the drug trade and the people smuggling trade is a multi-million pound business.
Yeah.
Nogales is one of the staging points there. All the gangsters are involved. And now that there's very limited people crossing, those gangsters will be fighting each other for the trade. They weren't fighting each other that much when there was plenty of customers, but there's fewer customers now. They're going to be killing each other.
This one we like. There are now, and we've already, most people know this, there are once again only 2 genders in the USA, and transgender surgeries are going to become very rare.
I disagree. There isn't 2 genders in America. There's hundreds of them. There's only 2 sexes.
Yes, that's a good point, actually.
There's only 2 sexes in America. I try my best not to use the word gender.
Yeah.
I call myself a gender denier because there is no such thing as gender. Gender was made up in the 50s. There is no gender. There's only biological sex and sex-based roles.
Yes.
You can argue that there shouldn't be sex-based roles, but I'm saying there is sex-based roles. There's no such thing as gender.
Yeah.
When we use the word gender, what we mean is a trendy personality.
Yes.
So in America, there's hundreds of trendy personalities, but there's only 2 sexes, and they're banning gender mutilation, aren't they?
Yes,
genital mutilation.
Transgender surgeries to become rare. I think that's what they're saying. So basically going to cut down all these young girls getting their breasts cut off and all that sort of stuff. And that was, I mean, the fact he did that on day one was phenomenal, really. Sent a real message.
Did you see the video of a severely disabled teenage girl?
I did.
Who can't talk.
Yes.
Who hasn't got really good motor function.
Yes.
And
that was very upsetting. I saw that.
And she's had the breasts removed.
Yeah. Because the parents are asexual, whatever they're called, pansexuals or whatever, and they've decided this young girl, even though she can barely communicate, is transgender. Yeah. And forced her through transgender surgery.
She's severely disabled, who can't talk, limited communication, no motor function. She's like that in the chair.
Yeah.
So no, she's severely disabled, and she's there topless with 2 scars under her, and it's like, doctors need arresting.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Doctors need arresting.
I think you're right. I think actually Trump has suggested that, hasn't he, that there's going to be some action taken against these doctors who perpetuate these horrific surgeries.
Well, I was going to do that last year if I'd become mayor.
Oh, that's right, you said. Sorry, you said
if
I'd
become mayor last year.
I'm confusing you with Trump now.
Yeah, well, we're very similar.
Yes.
If I'd become mayor last year, I was going to advertise to speak to any girls in Greater Manchester who have had surgery like that and who regret it, and I was going to get them to put a report into the police, and we were going to arrest the doctors.
Yeah,
it would have got thrown out of court. They did it, but I'd have made a statement.
I think when you start doing things like that, people start backing off these positions, don't they? He is getting NATO nations to pay 5% of their GDP, up from the current 2% rate, because America is paying more than everybody else into NATO.
Always has done.
Yeah. So he's saying, if we're paying, you guys have got to pay the same as us as well.
Yeah, that's what he said last time. Last time he was forcing people to pay the 2% they already promised they were going to pay, which hardly anybody, I think there's only 2 countries paying it. I think we were, and I think Poland might have been, but no one else. Germany, a couple of decades ago, was paying virtually zero. But why would European countries have to pay for their defence when you've got idiots living in America who are willing to protect them for free?
Yeah.
And Trump went, no, those days end.
Yeah.
So now he's upped it to 5%, which is good, because Europe has shown how weak we are with the Russian invasion, and Russia's not a threat to us, but China is. The next big war's coming with China, and we need to get a grip.
Yeah. His proposed relationship with China is within the next 4 years to close the trade deficit. At the moment, they send more to Canada, to America than America. He wants to close that within 4 years, basically, which is that's a massive thing. It
is, but he has to, and other countries, we need to be looking at that as well, because what we're doing is we're funding our enemy. Why do you think China is growing its army and growing its infrastructure and developing? Because we're funding it. So then when we fight a war with it, we'll be going, well, we funded these idiots to get to this stage.
Yeah.
If we can start reducing how well off China is, China will implode.
Yeah.
And that is how we beat China. China's a huge country, several times bigger than Europe.
Yeah.
How many wars has Europe had between little countries?
Yeah.
Hundreds over the last couple hundred years. If we can make China suffer a little bit, China will implode with civil war between different states, stuff like that. That'll be the end of Chinese dominance. That's how we beat China. If we have to get to a stage where we fight a proper war with them, mass casualties, but we've got to beat China by playing a better game, which is reduce the amount of money they earn and then hope they implode.
He's also planning to make a peace agreement with Russia and Ukraine a priority.
Yep, so we should.
And wants to work towards denuclearization with the cooperation of Russia and China as well.
Yeah.
So have I missed? He did hundreds, didn't it, or at least 100? Are there any ones that particularly that I may not have mentioned that captured your interest or attention?
No, for me it was the deportations.
Yeah.
And watching those videos online of criminals having their doors smashed down, being arrested. There's one I watched yesterday. He was a guy from Thailand, being convicted of sexual abuse of a 9-year-old girl in America, and he's living in America in an apartment, and he's not a citizen. He's there illegally, and he's already done time for raping a 9-year-old girl, and they arrest him. And he don't think it's fair. And it's like, I couldn't believe, I was shocked how far the American criminal justice system has fallen. That the state knows where these people live.
Yeah.
They just turn up at the house and arrested them. Nobody, and it was in Chicago. And when the mayor of Chicago, was it Chicago? Yeah, it was Chicago. When she was being interviewed, the guy, the mayor of Chicago, was a black guy. He basically said, it's not my job. It's not my job. It's the federal job, stuff like that.
Oh, he's just keeping out of it, is he?
Yeah.
Apparently, just on the deportation, the news. I've not seen. Is it a lady? The what's it called? Who's the White House spokesman?
Yeah.
One of the woke reporters said to her, all these illegal immigrants you're deporting, do any of them have criminal records? I don't know if you saw this.
No.
And she said,
all of them.
They've all got criminal records because they're illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
And then it just ended. I thought, fantastic. Because, of course, we forget that in this country.
That's why they're called illegal immigrants.
Yes. Our lovely asylum seekers are lovely, gentle brown people. Yeah. They're not criminals, are they? But they are criminals. They're all criminals. And I think the final bit for this, just wrapping off this edition, and I think I think you weren't sure last time we spoke, but I want to ask you again, after now it's a week of this been happening, is this going to have an impact on this country and on this government? What he's doing, is it going to have an impact? Oh, I said last time, absolutely. Whatever happens in America affects us. Yes. And then to a lesser extent the rest of Europe, and then to a lesser extent the rest of the world. So it's definitely going to affect us. Or maybe I should have said, is it going to change what we're doing? Maybe that's what I want to say. Is it going to change what we're doing? Under this Labour government, no. I can't see how it changes. They're not going to change anything they want to do. They may be forced into some tiny things such as the Chagos Islands and stuff like that, because he blocks the plan, and Mauritius go, well, we don't take him now because America are going to put sanctions on us. So they may be blocked from doing stuff, but I don't think this Labour government will change anything, because I don't think they can afford to, because they know if they end up looking like the president of Colombia, they'll know it's over for them. And every single one of them wants to stay in power. They also know that they only need 20% of the vote. And yes, I don't think it'll change. What will change is the next government who gets in. If we spend a couple of years now watching these changes and looking at American boom, if America booms, there's always a chance that everything he's doing now could fail.
and America could end up in a worse place. There's a tiny, tiny chance of that, but there's still a chance.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't fail and America starts booming, the Conservatives, Reform will start going, that's what we're doing. Their manifesto in the next election will look very similar to what Trump's done, because they'll copy it. So change will come
but the
next government.
The thing is, I don't want the Tories or Labour to get in the next time, because they'll say that and they won't do it again, will they? You know, like they've done every single time.
Yeah.
The only one who's really going to do it is going to be Reform at the moment. So I know what you say. They'll change their manifesto to say we'll do this, and then they won't do it.
When it comes to Tories, completely agree. I wouldn't trust them, because why? How could you trust someone who's let you down over 14 years, over 5 elections in those 14 years, and lied to you every single time, and then did the opposite?
Yeah.
So have the Tories changed? I think the Tories will only change or get any credibility back when there's new people in the Tory party who have never been in office, who are not tarred with the incompetence of the last 14 years. Reform, an unknown quantity, but do you know what? Trump was an unknown quantity. And at the moment, the only player in town I can see worth voting for, who's got a chance of hell of winning, the only one is Reform. Some of the other smaller parties, either like UKIP, like the SDP, some of them have got some good policies and some good people in the parties, but they're not going to. I can't see them winning any seats at the election. Never mind becoming a government. Reform is the only game in town if you want change. And I've said before, if Reform then starts going in a different direction, stop voting for them.
Yeah.